In this video, I will introduce you a great forensic tool called Helix 3 from eFence. Helix 3 is a collection of forensic tools for data acquisition, preservation, and analysis. Besides offering a commercial Helix 3, the company also give us a Helix free version in 2009 R1, and this is the version I'm using here. That's the free version. As we know, Helix 3 operates in two different modes, and one is running Helix in Windows Live mode, and another one is a live bootable CD and a boot system to Ubuntu. In this demo, I will show you the live version that running this in a Windows environment. So the Windows I'm using here is a Windows 7 virtual machine. It's on the background. When I open this software, and the first thing you see is a warning. So we are running in a live Windows environment, which typically happens during incident response time. And you need to make sure you make a minimal change, but certainly you absolutely no way to protect information to be changing, right? So this is the warning about, and we accept that. Now, as I said, it's a collection of tools on the, if you move from the left side, and you know each one, what is that? Each icon means it's a collection of tools. Each icon may have one or more tools collected inside. So this one is a preview system information. It's a live view of a system information, Windows system information. And then this one is acquisition. And then this is incident response tools for Windows. So let's look at a couple of that. So let's first look into preview system information. If I click on that, it tells you what is my operating system, and this is basically looking to my current Windows 7 virtual machine, and who is the owner and organization and all those information. Okay, and then what are the drives and the file system. And now we talk about that in the Linux case, and I showed you many of tools, many of Linux Unix tools to be able to collectively to get those type of information. But in this case, it's all that information be collected in together just with this GUI based tool. So it's very simple to use. And in this week's class, and I also give you some of free Windows tools to be able to get system information. But then certainly you say this is very convenient for me to use this Helix 3 to get that information. Now you see there's an arrow here. This arrow means there's more pages. So we are on page 1, and then you can go to page 2. So in this page 2, it shows you running processes. Currently, what are the processes it runs here? Now this is similar to a PS in Linux Unix case. If you have rootkits try to hide certain process, this hidden process will not show here. And this result is also same as a Windows Task Manager. So this is page 2, show you all the running process. Now we're on page 2, certainly you can go back to page 1. This is the system information. If we move to the next one, so again, this arrow tells you here right now, and if we take to the next one, I'll show line and attempt to. Okay, so this is acquisition page. So this acquisition page, it allowed you to do acquisition. In this case, it's a live acquisition using I think it's using DD because it says image is DD. So if you provide source, this is running Windows DD, similar to Linux DD acquisition. So if you provide source, what source do you want to do DD's acquisition? Now it says you could acquire for image, but by the way, most cases, if you do this physical memory use DD, some of the restrict the memory area you're not able to collect. So it's not as effective as other Windows memory tool I discussed. So I usually do not use this method, but you can also use DD to acquire non-volatile evidence as well. So this is talk about where the source, which one you want to acquire, and then do you want to use netcat? Now this is all connected in one tool, or do you want to just use attached? And where do you want to put the image file destination and then the image name? So this tells us this is DD, even though there's it's not necessary you have to do extension.dd, but to give us a hint, this is from DD. And you can provide DD's options. So Windows DD is use a very similar way to design to match for Linux Unix DD, and even the options. We have to talk about DD in details, so then acquire. Certainly we're not doing acquisition here now. Let's look at what are the next page do. So next page is FTK Imager. If you click on the FTK Imager, definitely you will see the FTK Imagers allow you to do memory dump and also do other acquisition. During the previous weeks, we did one demo. We did exercise and a demo in Imager. So this is just collecting FTK Imager into this tool. Okay. And then if you click further, the third page is a live RAM acquisition use WinIn, and I also mentioned about this in the class. WinIn is free as well, even though most of guidance software is not free, but acquisition is free. So this is a WinIn from guidance software for live memory acquisition. And then there's another one called memDD. This is also free for memDD memory acquisition. So I would never use the first page DD to acquire memory, but I would use either WinIn or FTK Imager or memory DD to acquire Windows live image. All right, so those are the three pages for acquisition: acquire for memory, and or acquire for use DD, acquire for other information. Now let's move on to the next one. So this one is incident response. So it collects various tools for incident response. Let's look at Agile Risk Management's Negeland 32. This one is an interesting tool as well. So this one, it says if you want to preview a disk, okay, you click on preview a disk. Now, by the way, be very careful since we are doing live investigation here. Commonly, I would say if you want to preview a disk, you should have a write block to use a write block. So if we look at, if I click that there's a two partitions, I click the first partition, and then now for those of you, if you're familiar with Windows, actually we will cover this information in the next week's lecture. This is Windows NTFS file system, and you'll see those $sign. Those $sign files are the system files, and we will look into $MFT. Now I just want to give you one example is if you click on this, and then on the left pane it's a content. It's a content for this chosen file. This is $MFT, and here they showed you some text view, and then it's some. So this is the content inside of $MFT mirror, and then you can look at the other information. You can extract and all that. This is preview. Just we haven't acquired doing acquisition yet, but we want to look around to find out which information I want to acquire. So this tool has a lot of features you can play around. And then certainly you can start a netcat to dump all the results to a network connected machine, forensics machine. Since there's an arrow, then we click and then to see what's in the next page. So that's a page 2. Page 2, you can do preservation. So you can browse to a file, then it can generate a hash. So that's on the top one. For the other ones, they can provide you command shell, and then rootkit revealer. That's the one can run through this current Windows system to identify rootkits. Okay, so whether this is very effective or not, this one is only can recover rootkits from user mode. It's not very effective, but it can collect some if you have a user mode rootkits there. And then certainly PuTTY SSH provide you SSH. And now if I want to see file recover, this is more related to us. So here choose English, yes. All right, so now it says, do you want to recover deleted file? Select logical drive, or pick your choice, what kind of file you want to recover. So this information, once you recover the file, it's listed, and then you can choose to export them out. So the file recovery tool, that's also useful. And now looks like they have more pages. So going to the next page. The next page, they have other informations. Each one is a unique tool. Those are all tools, and Helix 3 collect them and put under one umbrella and put into one interface. So for example, IE cookie view, it will look at the Internet Explorer's cookie. And then IE history view, that one will look at internet connections. For example, if you use the Internet Explorer to connect to a certain website, it can list all the websites you visited. Password viewer, that if you use IE and then for certain website you provide a password, then it try to recover password. Okay. Some other things, registry view. Registry view is allowed you to view registry information. There are a bunch of interesting mail password review. So lots of bunch of those interesting tools they actually listed here we can use. Some of the tools, so we might come back to revisit when we talk about Windows analysis. We will come to visit this page again. So again, those are the 3 pages on the incident response. Very rich resources here. Move on to the next one. This is a browser content. Just be very careful we are browsing it and possibly modify information. So I would say if you have a lecture to do that later, you will do that later. If you have already confirmed that there's incident, don't try to do much at this stage, because in the court people will challenge you, say you are modify evidence. So be very careful to use this tool. Just remember, on the first page we already agreed that those are all possibly changed, but we still want to do it, right? So try to be very careful. Okay. In this case, if we look at the C, in the C drive, now $recycle.bin. Again, we will discuss that later in the Windows analysis. This is one of the Windows artifacts. Interestingly, if you click on that, if there's a plus, certainly you can expand that. So there's if you have one user, then this is corresponding to one user's recycle bin. And then here are the files, $i file. It's all listed in that. We will cover this later. Okay. There's a document setting. So this is a match for Windows basically. And if you look at users we logged in. For this virtual machine, I logged in as a student. So for this student, I certainly have a lot of information. This is a Windows in Windows Tree View. Once again, that allowed you to browsing it, to preview it, to identify important information to export. But don't do too much, because currently you do not have a right block to use. Yeah. Move on to the next one. It is scan for pictures. So given a folder, you can load a folder, and then it will scan all the pictures, JPEG or graphics things under this given folder. It will show it in this pane. So it will collect all the pictures and show you at one time, at one screen. And then you can right click and export it. Again, it is for during the incident response time or preview time you want to pick up some pictures or something. And you can even make notes. So this tool is fascinating because it collects all sorts of tools for acquisition, for preservation, and for analysis. You can spend hours and hours to play around with these tools. Hopefully, you will try that later and then have fun with it.